everyone, and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. This is episode number 24 of my Topaz Studio 2 Creative Toolbox series. Now, we have this image right here, and I will link it in the description below. You can download this image. This is the original image. We're going to turn it into a painting, but you can go ahead and download it and follow along with me. And here's what the final result will look like. So, without any further ado, let's get started. We're starting out today in Photoshop. What I want to do is send this into Topaz Adjust AI just to see if we can get it to look a little more artistic. So, what we're going to do is duplicate the background layer, and we're going to launch Topaz Adjust AI. I'm going to start by trying standard just to see what kind of a look we get here. And then I'm going to try the HDR style after that. And that looks pretty cool. Here's the before and here's the after. Let's try the HDR style. It'll be a little bit more over the top, but I think that may really help the painterly quality. Yeah, and I think that looks really nice. So here's the before and here's the after. So I'm liking that so far. Let me just play around here with some adjustments here. I'm going to pull the contrast back a little bit. Maybe somewhere right around there. And let's see. Let's open up the shadows. Yeah, open up the shadows a little bit. And let's see. Let's play with the temperature. Let's kind of cool it down a little bit. Maybe right around there. Let's try moving this towards magenta and see what we get. Yeah, maybe right around there. So we've come from here and move to here. So far, so good. I think the saturation is good. I'm not going to touch that. I might give it a little bit of clarity, a little bit of micro clarity. Maybe like that. That looks pretty good. And I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and apply this adjustment. Now we're back in Photoshop. Now I went ahead and renamed my layer to Adjust AI just so we know what we're doing here. The only thing I don't like, there's a little bit of magenta in the horse's manes and the tails, and I want to get rid of that. And that came from the Adjust AI. So what we'll do is get a hue saturation adjustment layer. And what we'll do is the drop-down menu here, right here where it says Master, click on that and click on magentas. And what we'll do is we'll just pull that saturation down and watch the mane here, watch that go away. The magenta color. So we'll just pull that back almost the whole way. And we'll just take it the whole way out. I'll just take magenta out of this. And that looks really good. Now here's the before and here's the after. So that just gets rid of that magenta. And I'm really happy with that. So we've come so far from here and we've moved to here. So looking really good. It already has an interesting look to it. And I think it's what we've done with the Adjust AI is really going to add to the artistic quality of this image. Next thing I want to do is pull the whole image together. And then we're going to send this now up into Topaz Studio 2, my creative toolbox, which is what I really like to call it. And now we're going to work with the impressionistic filter or the impression filter. Let's come up to add filter and look at all these really cool filters. And they're broken down into groups. And you'll find the impression filter in the stylistic group here, right here. So let's click on impression. Now, the first thing you want to do is pick a stroke type. So right now it's defaulted at stroke type 1. So just click through the different strokes and you'll see how the image changes when you click through there. So we have all these different painting styles in here. And let's see, that's more like a sketchy style. I think I'm going to go with type 03. I think that looks pretty cool. Now you see these little white little areas here. Right now, this is the canvas underneath showing through, and right now the canvas is white. So if you come over to the impression filter and drag the whole way down through the filter here, you'll come down and you have all these different adjustments inside the impression filter, like color, lighting, texture. Click on the texture adjustment here. And then what you want to do is change your background type from solid to original. And when I do that, watch what happens. All those little white flecks go away. So that's really cool. And I do that a lot. Sometimes I want that to show through, but more often than not, I don't. Now, we can go here and we can start out with a number of strokes. Like we could try low, we can try medium, and we can try high. and just see what we like here. And I think I'm going to stick with medium. And now we need to find a brush size. Right now the brush size is at 0.50, and I think it's going to be pretty good right there. And you notice when I make the brush size larger, the image becomes more abstract. So I think I'm going to just double click it, or double click brush size and send that back to 0.5. I think that's good. And now let's work with the paint opacity. Now the paint opacity, when I start to pull this up, you're going to see that paint show through a lot more. And I generally will move it to the right, but in this case, I think I'm going to move it to the left a little bit. I'm going to take some of that out of there because I'm looking at this, the background here, like these mountains and things back here. Watch when I pull the opacity up. It gets that more painterly look there, but I'm thinking I want it to look softer. So what I think I'll do is just ease back on the opacity. And not too much, but maybe right around a 40, I think looks pretty good. I think what I want to do though is add a little bit of detail back into the manes and the horse's faces and the tails. So I'm going to use some layer masking to do that. Now I love the background, the softness of this image, but I want my horses to look very nice and bold and out in front of this image. Like they are powerful animals and I really want to show that off. What we need to do is click on the mask icon on the impression filter and click on brush, and I'm going to take my transparency up to, I'm going to experiment, maybe around like a 0.44, and it's like a gray color, so I'm going to remove a little bit of that painterly quality up off the, again, the mane and the face and the tails. I'm going to make my radius a little bit smaller, and I got the edge wear turned on. I'll leave the softness where it is by default. So it's going to do a nice job right there. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, isn't that nice? Let's add a little bit of detail back in here as well on this tail here. Yeah, very cool. Now let's work on the horse on the left. Take some of the painterly effect off the face and the mane and also off the tail. I really love this image. I think this was a composited image, but I thought, man, wouldn't this make a really beautiful painting? Having these really beautiful horses looking very strong and powerful in the foreground and having that nice, soft, muted background. If you've ever watched me do painterly type images on my tutorials, you'll know how I love to use precision contrast and precision detail, two filters inside of Topaz Studio 2, along with my paintings. So let's come up here to add filter and let's go to precision contrast. And now I'm just thinking about the horses, not the background. So forget what's happening to the rest of the image, but just look at the horses. So let's start out by adding some micro contrast. And I'm going to add a decent amount here, something like that. I just want to pull the power out. See the power coming out in these horses? I don't like so much with what's happening in the background, but you know what? You may say, I love that. So again, make this your own. You don't have to do it just the way I'm doing it. Do it the way you feel it. All right? Because art is very subjective and whatever you like is what you like. Now I'm going to take the low up somewhat here. I think maybe right around there. Looks pretty good. Now the medium, let's try pulling it up. Not liking that. So if I double click medium, I'll set it back. Now the high. I like to move these sliders both ways. Now I don't like what's happening to the right, but if I move it to the left, yeah, it adds a little bit more detail into the darker areas. It's kind of like opening up the shadows with the shadow control. So what I think I'm going to do is go around a 19 or 20, somewhere right around there. And let's take a look. Click this eyeball on the precision contrast. Here's the before and here's the after. So I'm liking that. That's looking really cool. So now let's go ahead and get a layer mask. So click on the layer mask icon here. And what I want to do is invert this layer mask so it takes it off of everything. So click on these three dots right here and click invert. And you notice that removes it from everything. Now what we're going to do is just paint it on the horses. So click on your brush tool and we want our transparency to go the whole way to the right. So it's a white paint swatch right here. And now let's adjust our radius to the size we think we need. We're going to leave our edge wear on. We're going to leave our softness at default. And now let's just start painting that really nice detail over the entire horse here. We can be kind of quick here. We don't, because that edge wear is really going to help us out. And I love that edge wear in here. So I'm going to go like this and release it. But look at that. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Let's do the other horse, and then I'll come back and get its legs or hoofs or whatever you want to call it. Get all this here. Then I'll change my brush size and get the other areas. Beautiful. So now let's make our radius a little bit smaller, and now let's paint on the legs. Like so. Paint down in here. Want that detail to show up in here as well. And we'll do our other horse here. These horses are so cool. And let's get this leg. Make sure I got all this. I'm sure I got that from before, but now we have it right there. So again, let's look at the before and after. So here is the before and here's the after. See the power really starting to come out. I'm really happy. I think one more filter and we're done. We'll come to add filter and let's do the precision detail. I'm just going to use the overall detail, I believe, and I'm going to pull the small up and see what we got here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to take it up to about a 22, 23. Okay, I'm going to go medium detail, drag it to the right. And again, I'm only looking at the horses. I'm not looking at anything else. And I think I may come to about a 25, I think. And let's try the large. Let's pull it up. I'm just going to go a little bit on the large, not too much. Like right around there. Now again, I only want it on the horses. You may want it everywhere, but I just want it on the horses. So I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to come up to the precision contrast. I'm going to right click on the mask here and click copy mask. Then I'm going to come to this mask on precision detail, right click and click on paste mask. And like that, I am done. So let's go on the precision detail layer here and click the eye. Here's the before and here's the after. Isn't that cool? Look at that detail. Now here's the overall before and after of the image. So we came from here and we went to here. I really enjoy it. I think I'm happy with it. If you're happy with it, and if you started out in Photoshop like I did, then just come and click accept. If you didn't, you can come up here to file and you can say save project as. But I started in Photoshop because remember I used the Topaz Adjust AI to help me out. All we have to do is click accept and that sends us right back into Photoshop. Let's do a bit of a recap. Now we started out with this image here. I sent it into Topaz Adjust AI and it came back from Adjust AI looking like this, but then I didn't like the magenta that was in the horse's manes and in the tails. So I added a hue saturation adjustment layer in Photoshop, got rid of the magenta, and then we sent it into Topaz Studio 2 and added the impression filter, some precision contrast, precision detail, and we end up with this image right here. So we've come from here and we went to here. So I'm really, really happy with this image. Just one final thing I want to point out. I noticed along the edges of the horses here, it was a little bit raggedy from the painting. And so what I did was I added a blank layer and called it Edge Cleanup Clone Stamp. And basically I'm just using a clone stamp and cleaning up along the edges here. Here's a little section that I missed right here, and I'll show you how I did that. Let me go ahead and zoom into this area right in here. When you do this, make sure you have your clone stamp tool on and make sure you have the sample, make sure you have current and below, or you could choose all layers as well. And then what you want to do is just want to sample. Get a small brush here, make sure you have a nice soft edge, sample out here and just kind of clean up the edge. Because sometimes you can get some wonky looking edges when you're doing some painterly type effects. It's just, coming out from the painterly where it spills out. So you can clean these things up. Just very simple. Just zoom in, like I said, like this, and just clean it up. That's all you have to do. Very simple to do. All right. And there we go. Now, if you're finished with your image, you can come up here to File and click on Save. You can save it as a PSD file, or else you could save it as a TIFF file with layers intact either way. your layers will be back when you open the image back up. Or if you're happy with your results, you can go ahead and right click the top layer and come down to flatten image, click flatten image. That flattens it out, and then you can come back up and click file, save as TIFF, JPEG, whatever you want. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this one today. I love these two horses. I love the power of the horse. They're really beautiful animals. Hey, if you enjoyed my tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you will be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.